What's up, guys? It is MurderInc here, and we gotta talk. So let's go over a few things. I just released a video about the duplicate system. I asked for you guys' feedback. I got a lot of really good feedback. I do appreciate that. I also asked for people to kind of reply, giving me their thoughts if they didn't agree with it, and I noticed a trend that a lot of people had, and it has to do with retention of the videos. If I don't make a point pretty clear, and I had a lot to talk about in the last video, I will admit that in the first 40%, 50% of the video, people start to drop off and stop watching, and they just comment anyways, and they miss a bulk portion of what I was talking about. So when they comment saying you're wrong about this, your opinion sucks about this, they're like agreeing with me, they just don't know it yet because they didn't watch the full video. So I want to get the major things done out of the way at the start here. The first thing I want to talk about is how this affects early game players and end game players. I know it's a really wide margin, but I heard a lot of the 99% and the 1%. People were like, the 1% are going to be fine, or it doesn't matter for the 1%, or the 99%, they're going to benefit greatly from this. And I think they missed my point on this, so I do want to clarify that about this duplicate system, how it was introduced to us. And one other thing, people were saying that my main complaint was not enough information was given to us, making my whole argument invalid. That was a really small point, and it was kind of a warning to people, saying a lot of things are subject to change. However, my main concern was with the part that is locked in, which is the overall system as itself as a baseline kit, regardless of the specifics of how they do things. So I know that's kind of a lot, but I wanted to preface that first. So if you do want to comment on this video here, now you know what I'm going to talk about before I get into all details, so you can skip ahead to what you do want to find out and what you don't want to know about. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the 99% of the player base. And this is usually assumed to be not the crazy whales, the people who aren't insanely endgame, more in the mid-game area, moderate spenders, low spenders, and how this system is going to be fantastic for them. Now, that is true on first glance, but there's one key point that a lot of people before who were commenting didn't quite pick up because they didn't make it to that part of the video, most likely, or they just missed it overall, which is going to be future game balancing. So think of yourself making a game in a company like Plarium. Just put yourself in their shoes. You're releasing this duplicate system. You get all these cool bonuses for lots of players, rare champions, epic champions, and it's great, right? You're getting more stats, content's going to be easier. Think about the future though. Do you think Plarium's going to be releasing new champions and new content in the game, not considering a overall general power spike to the entire community? People who thought Dread Horde Bomber was hard, I guarantee you haven't seen anything yet. If they do go forward with the empowerment system, that guardian bonus system that's kind of like a mini Great Hall, they're going to factor these things into everyone's account, and they cannot assume that most players aren't going to have fully maxed out guardian faction bonuses. They just can't do it, because if they do, they're going to lose almost every single endgame player they have, and it's going to feel a lot less fulfilling for players who do reach the end game. It's just not going to feel fulfilling. All the content's going to be way too easy. It's not going to be a real struggle, and the players who work hard and spend a lot of time, even if they are free to play, to hit the end game, they are going to be extremely disappointed because the content's probably going to be easier than it was considered in the mid-game level. So what are they going to do? They are going to start using and taking this overall power spike and applying it to all future editions of this game, including champions. So now fusions aren't going to feel as good because they're going to say, well, how is this fusion going to be +4 empowerment with a full faction guardian bonus on it? That's just the reality of it, and I think that's a really bad way to approach that in a game unless you release the game like that. If they had released Raid Shadow Legends with this duplicate system, I think it really would have been good. I would have had no complaints, but the fact that it's coming so far down the line, it's a rather big change to make because, I mean, we all know players who are early game, mid game, late game, and end game. How do you fit all of that in without messing everything up? I mean, I do think there is a way to do that, but I think any type of empowerment is going to be very detrimental to the game because of what I just told you guys. Now that that's been said and I kind of got that point, especially with PvP being the focus coming up, I think we can clearly see that the gap and the power creep is going to skyrocket, like through the roof. But you guys can just wait and see, and we'll see what ends up happening. And I mean, we can be pretty confident and sure of what's going to happen, how it's going to turn out. But the people who are skeptical, of course, time is on our side, and we can just wait and see for ourselves once we do get new champions, new content after this system does go live, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you can remember, oh yeah, he did mention something like this was going to happen. And I do think it's going to have quite a few extremely negative impacts on this game. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is the value to endgame players. A lot of people said empowerment doesn't bother me and it doesn't matter because it's only for the 1% of players. Now, unfortunately, it's the exact opposite of that. Who it's really going to benefit are the players who got really unlucky and they got 3 or 4 duplicates out of only 10 or 15 total legendaries, and they are going to see the benefit of that power spike. If you're endgame, meaning you've completed everything in the game, you don't need more stats for anything, not even player versus player content, and the people who are at the top of the Platinum Arena agree with me as well. The only thing you're going to get from having a +4 ascended champion, unless it's stupid broken, which is going to have millions of other issues with the game as it is, so I'm just not going to assume it's going to be broken. I'm not going to assume it's going to be 25% of your stats if you have a +4 champion, because that's just terrible game balance, and I don't think plarium would ever do that. So we're going to assume they're going to be reasonable with what you do get. And the fact of the matter is, it's not going to matter at all. People were saying, oh, +4 Trundas are going to be overpowered, +4 Duchess. The answer is not really. Now, do you guys want to know why? It's because Swift Parry Reaction is in the meta right now, right? So Swift Parry, does it matter if you're mitigating 1,000, 10,000 more damage? Does it matter if you're dealing 1,000 or 10,000 more damage to your opponent? Not at all, because you have Swift Parry gear, so it's completely irrelevant. Same thing applies to reaction gear. Why would it matter if you have more HP, more defense, more attack? The amount is not going to add up, because anyone who is using Trunda right now in Platinum Arena, you understand you're not overkilling the enemy team you're fighting by 500 damage, 1,000 damage, 2,000 damage. You're overkilling them by a lot. Whether it takes you 2 of her abilities or you can straight up one-shot them, you're hitting these champions for over 200,000 damage, and no one's building 200,000 health on their champions. Unless you have some type of shield set, even then it always takes 2 abilities no matter what, and that's not going to change a thing. I think this is a big point to bring up, because a lot of comments were saying, oh, I don't care about ascensions because it's only for the whales. Well, coming down to the statistics and the numbers you can predict to see from this, it doesn't even matter for whales. Like I said, it's going to be simply a flex thing like speed is. Right now, if you have a champion that's 400 speed, it's irrelevant in Arena. It doesn't matter if you have 400 speed, because there is no viable speed meta in Platinum Arena. Most people who push know this. So what are you going to be able to do with 400 speed? Take a screenshot of it, show it to people on Discord, and flex on them. That's exactly what the Ascension system is going to be. And is that useful in a dupe system? In my opinion, no. You guys can let me know what you think on that take right there, but I think that is pretty straightforward. Now, the second thing is going to be, people are going to now be aiming to get duplicates because of this whole Guardian bonus, despite all of the long-term effects it's going to have. People are going to be aiming for duplicates. So I think it really takes a lot of fun out of the game when, let's say you have a Ushan, and now we're going to get this life token shop where you can just start buying duplicates of champions to fill out whatever champions they give us. I think it was what, Folly, Tomb Lord, Ushan, Sir Nicholas. You can just keep sacrificing duplicates to buy these new legendaries simply to fill up that Guardian bonus. Now, people have thought of this already and they kind of understand where I'm coming from. That's not the best class design. Of course, there are going to be players who are extremely excited, regardless of how much it costs, to get a Sir Nicholas if you don't have one. I'm not going to argue that at all. That is a very good point. However, if you are endgame enough and you do have a lot of duplicates, all you're really going to be doing is buying more duplicates, which seems kind of counterproductive if you think about it, to fill out those faction bonuses, based on the fact that you can continually buy champions unless they limit it to a one-time use. And like I said, the fact that they're not rotating these champions is kind of unfortunate. Now, even though they're not rotating it and they're going to keep them forever, they're always going to be continually adding new champions to this. And maybe if we're allowed enough, they will change it to it rotating. However, a lot of players do like the fact that they're going to stay there forever, just in case they're working towards a champion and all of a sudden it resets on a rotating schedule. Personally, what I would do is I would just make it cost gems to reset it, and you can randomly generate new champions. That way plarium wins because we have to spend resources, and players win if they don't have it. Make it cost like 1,000 gems so plarium feels like they're making something. Put it on a 3-day cooldown, a week-long cooldown, whatever they feel is necessary, so we can keep refreshing it every however often they decide and keep getting the possibility of new champions. They probably shouldn't make the cooldown too long unless it guarantees we can never see the same champions, because we all know how RNG works. Like I said, if we have Fushan, Manaya, Sir Nicholas, and Tomb Lord, just as an example, and then you hit the refresh button and 3 of the same champions reappear in the shop and you just spent 1,000 gems, you're not going to be too happy. So if they want to put something like a month-long cooldown, they're probably going to cost a lot more gems, but make sure and guarantee it's never the same champions. I think realistically that's going to be the best approach if they did decide to revert their initial idea of locking in the original 6 champions and slowly adding more champions over time. So those are kind of the main points that I really wanted to drive home here in response to the last video. I saw a ton of people saying this is insane, this system's really good, you're overreacting, you're whining for no reason, and I just feel like they didn't have the information they needed to fully understand what I was going to say, because they either ended the video early or for some reason they missed the points I was trying to really drive home here. So I just wanted to focus on those few key points there so people did start understanding what exactly I was talking about. And I think it's pretty clear by now, just kind of going on to the initial part of the video, which probably caused a lot of people to mauled out of their minds and just go straight to the comments when I said I'm not a contrarian. Really quickly, if you still think I am, go and look up the definition of that. It means I'm picking the opposite side of an argument simply to be different, and I don't believe in it at all, and I'm going to do everything in my power to argue with people. I think it's pretty clear by now that that's not the case. I've been playing for too long and I enjoy the game too much to complain about something for no reason, especially since if you've watched my content for an extended period of time, you know my biggest complaint are people whining for no reason about the content in this game, which is very common among content creators. So the fact that I'm doing it, it's pretty clear that the reason why I'm doing this is because I do see the very dangerous long-term impacts this system can have as it is now without any further information, because it's not going to change what's going to happen in the future with an empowerment system being introduced to this game over 2 years into the game's development. So I'm a little bit surprised the company didn't pick that up, and maybe they're introducing some type of failsafe where they're going to add additional layers of difficulty for all content so you as the player can choose. I don't really imagine that's going to happen. That sounds like a ton of work for them to do to compensate for this massive power gain the whole community is going to get, or the game's going to perceive they're going to get, and just assume everyone has these bonuses available to them and active at all times. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I think it was a really important point to kind of reiterate, because there were a lot of people in the comments who were saying this is really good. I agree. I was confused as to why people weren't going into more detail on this, so I did want to clarify those few points for the people who enjoyed it and for those who were a little bit confused or didn't fully understand what I was saying in the last video. Alright guys, don't forget, if you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video, and I will see you all in the next upload.